Hello, welcome to another episode of Mega Manga Monday. I am Jason Hahn, and today we are talking about My Hero Academia. Chapter 359 is the latest one, and we're getting right into the fight we've been wanting for a while. Actually, we didn't dive back into Himiko Togas and all that stuff going on, but well, first of all, I'm Jason Hahn. Welcome to the Mega Manga Mondays podcast. I am a writer for Screen Rant who happens to be a big manga fan. And I got a couple other buddies who are also big manga fans to talk about the newest chapters of My Hero Academia with me today. Steven, you want to introduce yourself, man?
Yeah, hello. My name is Steven, and I've been writing for the comic side for a little while now, mostly writing about manga, Shonen Jump titles, things like that, but also delving into Sonic the Hedgehog. But yeah, really excited about this latest chapter of My Hero Academia for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of action and lots of great art. But Carlyle, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm Carlyle. I'm also a writer at Screen Rant, do manga. I've been out sick for a little bit, but now I'm back. So, ready to talk about my hero.
Yeah, man, I miss talking about this series with you because you have lots of great insight as a vigilante fan as well. Um, but yeah, we got to see more of Shigaraki's powers at play, and we've got a little bit more words of wisdom question mark from him. But even Bakugo is just like, I'm not sure if this is Shigaraki or All for One at this point. Um,
Hmm.
and kind of still, I feel like Shigaraki, had his own times of monologues and stuff, but I didn't feel like he was quite as articulate as his monologues currently are. So I'm thinking this is more All for One than Shigaraki, but that could change. It might be like a mental struggle between the two right now. We're not really sure. But in their last major confrontation, in the last big arc, we kind of showed small glimpses of Shigaraki might be more of a captive in his own brain than we're being led to believe. But Bakugo got some time to shine. He has probably, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, the most useless explosions in anime. There are a lot of kaboom and a lot of flash, but even our previous discussions, we are bringing up one of the My Hero movies. He like shoots some guy in the face with an explosion. It destroys a concrete wall behind this guy's face, but then the guy is shown being put into a police car. Like, he's fine. Just like, these explosions make no sense.
Yeah, it's
And
really, yeah.
yeah, and in this newest chapter, we saw a great two-page spread of the explosion just absolutely destroying like almost half of this arena that they're floating in, and kind of noticing by looking at it a little bit deeper. But I love that we get the landscape in the background too. It really gives a great idea of scale on how big this attack was, but didn't work. I think, I mean, it's not really that surprising that it didn't work. It wasn't going to work. But I'm glad we got to see Bakugo's big attack. But what was some stuff about the chapters that stuck out for you guys?
You can go, Carlisle. I'm immersed in something. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's pretty funny that this may be the first time we've actually seen the business course students doing anything. And they're making a documentary in the middle of this battle, which seems like a really dumb thing to send students to do. Just
Yeah, I mean, they've got to be getting in the way. I mean, they could be doing more important things for sure. I almost think it was just specifically put there to set up something they're going to do later on. Like, it was, at least in the official translation, it was revealed that somebody, I think, on the business course has telepathic abilities, and they're able to relay everything that's going on this fight to everybody
in
else.
the official translation here, it says they're using Mandalay's telepath quirk, so they're communicating with the wild pussycats.
Oh, that's the one. Okay. There's so many names I couldn't remember all of them, which is a problem I'm also having with Jujutsu Kaisen right now, but that's a whole nother podcast. Um,
We open this chapter with the anniversary drawing there, with like every single character, even characters who don't have names, like the Shark Girl. So we're really flaunting how big our cast is at this point.
oh, absolutely. That's a huge drawing, and I'm noticing all the small little details by looking at it right now a little bit more closely.
No,
We
no,
see,
most of them.
yeah,
I don't recognize them. I was like, who are these people? Oh, wait, that's right. We saw them once. No.
well, one interesting thing about this piece I'm seeing, well, Deku and Ochaku are holding hands. It's super cute. Toga's dress looks.
It's just a tease. I am so mad at Horikoshi. I'm sorry. Like,
He's playing with my emotions.
They did that in like a volume chapter too. Like they had like it was like a while ago, but they had like another like Ochako and Deku like nice moment on the cover. It's like that doesn't even happen in any of the chapters in this volume. Why are you doing this to us? But I digress.
Yeah, give us more in the main story, please. But one thing I was noticing that is very interesting is Endeavor is holding his arm that he has, we assume, lost in his fight against All for One. And same thing with Bakugo. Bakugo's arm that just got absolutely obliterated in this chapter. Oh my god, I'm distracted by everything else because Kirishima is wearing a Chippendales bow tie. Anyway, Bakugo's arm is not prevalently featured in this image too, so I'm almost wondering if that's kind of an extra little thing there. Do you guys think he lost the arm in this chapter?
It's possible. I mean, it would be another similarity between him and Mirko.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of one thing too, is like if he is horribly injured, that might make him sweat a lot more. So maybe we haven't seen Bakugo's ultimate trump card yet, but...
Oh, I like that, actually. That's interesting. I like that reading.
Yeah, I would just love to see... Because Bakugo's always been the cocky dude who, you know, whenever he is pushed up against a wall, he just remains cocky and still just overpowers it usually. But a lot of the times we've gotten to hear him talk about strategy and stuff like that, he usually comes up with brilliant strategies, and we've not really been able to see him go against somebody who just outclasses him in every way. So I'm excited to see him get more creative, but even more excited about Lemillion jumping back into the fray. He is my favorite character, and when that happened in the last arc, when he showed up at the end of the fight to save the day, I like leaped out of my seat. I was so happy. It was I was even talking to my wife earlier that day. I was like, something happened in a manga I'm reading, and it was like your best friend you haven't seen in years coming back. That's how I feel right now.
Definitely been a minute.
I think we were also talking about him a few episodes ago too, that we haven't seen him in a while, and it would be great to get him back in there, since his whole story was, especially in relation to Deku, like it was just one of the defining moments in like the arc he was introduced. So it was always like, oh man, I mean, it makes sense he's not in the spotlight, but it's like one of those things that I've been really missing. So I'm glad he's back.
And one thing we haven't really been able to see is the big three like fighting together in action. Like we've gotten little teases here and there, but I think this is something that Horikoshi's been kind of teasing since introducing the three. Sun Eater definitely got some great time to shine in his fight in that big arc. I feel like with Lemillion, he's consistently just been so overpowered that the only way that they are able to do anything against him was to have him slowly losing his quirk, and that's kind of how he was defeated there. So I'm definitely not expecting like the next chapter he just uses his power and saves the day and that's the end. As cool as that would be, but yeah, I'm incredibly excited to see the big three in action together.
Hopefully they've got some cool team moves or something they've worked on.
Oh, absolutely. Just that's one thing that I feel like a lot of the series has kind of been disappointing on, is like combining quirks for cool combo abilities. because it
Because we
always
talked about that in class and we did a little practice with it, but it hasn't actually come up in any really important scenarios.
yeah, it always seems to do the shonen thing of like, okay, well, it's going to be kind of a one-on-one battle against good guy and the bad guy. Oh, that didn't go well. Okay, well, now it's going to be another one-on-one with this other guy. And I mean, right now they're all going against Shigaraki right now, but it's still, even with Bakugo's thing was a great example of what just happened. It's just like, okay, let's get it into a situation where somebody can unleash their super strong attack. And as a Naruto fan, I would love to see some combination attacks there. It would be awesome. What else about this chapter really stuck out for you guys? I mean, even the last chapter too, because due to some scheduling conflicts, and delays, we weren't able to talk about the last one. But it's really Shigaraki just kind of spouting his all for one ideals on how he thinks under one ultimate power that then everybody can be equal except him, of course.
Yeah, like I had like the weirdest grievance about the last chapter, 358. And I don't really see any way that Horikoshi could have written it any differently. But it was just the fact, when, Bakugo is... I forgot exactly what he says, but he says something about, like, us working together. And Bunny Girl was like, what? Teamwork? Type of thing. And, like, that she couldn't, imagine him saying that, because obviously Bakugo has always been notorious for, being a loner and that sort of thing. But I felt like that kind of sidelined what is arguably the worst arc in My Hero Academia even further than it should have. Like, so to kind of take a step back, like I know that we've talked in past episodes about, how the joint team arc was, completely useless. Well, a lot of people didn't like it. But one of the things that I really liked about it that made it stand out for me was that it was right after the whole school festival when Bakugo starts acting like a team for the first time. Like he becomes really adamant about being on the drums and working together as a band. So it was like the first time we see him working together with someone. But then in the joint team arc, which everyone hates, understandably, it was the first time in a battle situation where he is actually working as a team, and that was like a really momentous moment for his character. And I just felt like Bunny Girl, that's her unofficial name. I forgot.
Mirako.
Yeah, Mirako. Yeah, she like I don't know any way that she could have said it, but if like somehow referencing that, it's like, oh man, I'd heard that he had changed or something, but she didn't. Like, it just felt like it was just completely overshadowing the fact that Bakugo has been growing, and this isn't the first time that he's been working as a team. Like, again, it's a weird grievance, but it's just like one of those things that
I totally
like a lot
get
of people.
Like, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, great, we evolved as a character, so let's consistently have that character be that new evolved version of that character. And I felt like this was kind of a regression of that, like.
Because he's fighting all by himself too.
yeah, exactly. Well, it's just like I was watching. I'm not all the way caught up on the anime because, everyone's least favorite arc was the last anime season that came out, and I was making my way slowly through it, and that's one of the last episodes I watched. Actually, was people were like, "Oh man, Bakugo's like working as a team," but he wasn't really. Like he started giving his teammates more importance, but he's just like, I'm so good, I'm gonna protect all of them. And you're like, well, that's not really teamwork. You're just saying you're gonna make sure everyone is safe. You're not working as a team with them to come up with a better plan. You're just essentially coming up with a plan so good in your own brain that you're gonna save everybody else. But
just because you say it's teamwork doesn't mean it is, Bakugo.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just that arc could have been so much better, but at least that might have been the first fight, because I think his team fought more than once in that arc, so I could be wrong. Somebody correct me in some comments. But I almost wonder if we have to wait till Deku shows up for Bakugo to be more cooperative, but I definitely don't think he's down for the fight.
I think that it's a little bit of just like the pros and the students haven't really worked together all that much, except for like exactly who they interned with, and for Bakugo, that person's not here, so maybe he's just not really used to working with some of these other pros like Mirako, and Mirako herself not much of a team player either, so any kind of cooperation between those two is just sort of inherently doomed.
Well, he did intern with Genist, and Genist is there. Oh, you're talking about Endeavor?
Oh yeah, I was thinking about Endeavor, but yeah, he did work with Genist too. You're right.
But yeah,
I can't get over his BJ belt buckle.
He has a BJ belt buckle.
It's very prominently shown on the last page of 358.
Oh boy, I have to go there.
I'm doing that now.
Everyone go to the end of 358 and look at the amazing belt buckle. You can buy it now on shonenjump.com. Oh my god, you're right. Best Genist. Yeah, there it is. Now, anytime I refer to the words BJ, it will be in regards to Best Genist.
Wow.
Oh boy. But yeah, I'm glad that Bakugo got some time to shine. His new thing looks awesome, especially in 358. We got some great art of it. It almost seems like it's like, I hate to say the word nanomachines, but it seems like nanomachines just like formed on his back. Like there's a couple panels of it forming behind him, and it looks awesome. But again,
he's becoming a mecha, a human mecha.
Yeah, they're taking some things from One Piece. Is Bakugo the
everything always ends in Evangelion?
Yeah. Oh, bad. That'd be better. Yeah, that's as I said, I don't think Bakugo's done here, but I'm glad that we focused on this fight because it's probably the one that's most interesting right now. But I'm dying to know what's going on with Deku. What was coming to slow him down, essentially, and I think the next time that we see Endeavor's battlefield, things probably won't be good. But we still have to find out if All For One's version that they were fighting over there is still kicking or what's going on, because it was definitely a big cliffhanger that they left us on there.
Yeah, I don't know. This is all cool and everything, but I just want to get the Himiko Toga, man. Like, I just want to get to her fight with Ochako. Like, there's this is all good, but it's like they're saving the best for last, and it's really been like I'm sitting here just anxiously waiting. Please get over there, please.
All right. Well, we've talked about that in previous discussions too, where it's just like that seems to be the most like personable. They've got to resolve the Toga and Ochaku love triangle thing that's going on, but just especially with everything we saw Endeavor just do and everything that's going on just here, it would just feel so, I don't know. To me, it doesn't quite match up to the scale that we're seeing here, unless Toga, brings out some humongous attacks and stuff. But
there was the whole theory that she, because she has twice, like she could use his power. Mm-hmm. I forgot why or how we came to that theory. But that would be really interesting, being able to bring that back. That would make it. I can definitely see what you're saying, like on scale, but I think I'm always thinking like my mind's never like focusing on battle. I'm always like into the conversation. So that's why like these battles have been really great, and they seem definitely immense. But for me, like Himiko and Ochako, like their whole little battle arc thing could just be them standing there talking and arguing, and it would totally one up everything that's happened so far since this whole war has happened. At least for me, it's just like there's just so much. It just really appealed to me, that whole thing, where Himiko, she like really opened up to Ochako, and like her quirk was able to evolve and become what it is because of like how much she cares for Ochako. Like she's only able to, do as much as she can because of that. And it's like then Ochako just completely shuts her down. And I've just been wanting that to be resolved for years now. It's like, oh my god, like that is my number one thing. Like it's one of my favorite in like all of like the series that are going on right now. It's probably one of the things I'm most anticipating. Like except Black Clover's return and stuff. But like no, it's like it's like one of those confrontations where it's like, oh man, I'm really stoked about how that's gonna unfold. That's my favorite. It's my favorite storyline for sure.
All right. Well, to kind of change things up a little bit, kind of a
Steven.
format. Oh no, it's all related to that. Carlyle, how do you think the Ochako Toga thing should end?
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on this one because there's definitely something interesting here, but ultimately, I mean, we all know that there's no reciprocation there. There can't really be any. I think the best that Toga can hope for is a Ender's Game style, I understand you and that's why I'm able to defeat you kind of thing. Like you have to love your opponent to destroy them sort of idea.
Oh god, no. I could see that happening though.
And Steven, how would you like it to go?
See, I don't even want to do that. Like I don't want to build it up in my head, like, because it was just that whole interaction when it happened to the Liberation War. It completely came out of the blue for me. Like I wasn't anything that I was expecting, and it completely just threw me for a loop in such like an awesome way that I just haven't been wanting to think of how it can turn out. Like I want to see it happen. I don't want to speculate, if that makes any sense.
Well, I guess what do you want to see happen?
I want to see, because here I'll say this. I was a little upset like when they last met a few chapters ago, like for the first time since that whole thing, and it was also foreshadowed before their meetup. When Ochako, she goes back to her home and she's having all these like memories and stuff, and she didn't even think once about Ochako or even reference her. And it was like during this moment where she was thinking about everything that's been going on, and I was like, oh my god, this is either really bad writing on Horoshoki's part or something's going on. And then they meet up for the first time in that confrontation, which we're waiting to be resolved. And Himiko was like, "Oh, I've moved on from you," or something. She's like, "I'm not. I've just shut you out of my mind completely. You mean nothing to me." That was, I'm what I'm hoping is that was just like a defensive mechanism or something, and because I want them to open up on this, because it was just like when Ochako breaks Himiko's heart in the Liberation War, like you see Himiko running and crying and stuff, and it was just like she was just really deeply impacted by what Ochako did, who's like the most kind hero that there is, and she ends up like breaking this villain's heart. And then also having that conversation with Deku later on, it's like, sometimes I feel bad about Himiko, but then I just look at the horizon and see all the horrible things that she's been doing, and it makes me hate her again. And it's like, it's just like there's just so much emotion there. Like Himiko, I want her to just like open up, like even though she's just crazy though, but I just want to see her open up to Ochako, and I want Ochako to be thrown for a loop again, like disgusted at this, and just I want it to be big emotional. Like I just want a lot to be going on emotionally for both characters. I want them to go through something profound.
Yeah, like the last minute Toga's just like, it was all a front. I've just been in love with you, Ochako.
Well, not love, but like just like I see, that's the thing. I don't even know what I do want. Like I want there to be a lot of emotion. That's all I know. I want them to both open up. I don't want it to be like where Himiko is closed off to it. It's like you've been building up to this moment for years now. It's like this needs to be big. That's I didn't really say anything and all that, but that's yeah. I wanted to be big emotionally.
You heard it here, folks. Steven wants big emotions in My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't really see it ending any other way other than being, emotional, because that definitely seems to be one of the more interesting relationships that they've built up throughout the series. I mean, the one that you referenced, where Toga and Ochaku like have their little conversation and battle in that apartment. I mean, there had to be a reason he did that. I mean, they could have not had that, and then they could have still had just the fight like they have it right now, and it would be a Toga saying, "Oh, I want Deku to be my boyfriend," and Ochaku being like, "Well, no, I want him to be my boyfriend." Like, oh, that would have been so lame. So, I mean, we needed that extra scene, and you know what? I as you say, I don't want to get my hopes up too high for it, but I think that we do have something, or he has something in store for them. So we'll see. And
Well,
Sue's there.
and also too, I mean, just to show like how much it resonates with me, like they're without giving away anything, like in Black Clover, like there's a relationship that starts out like that between two characters, between a hero and a villain, and I don't know, that also resonated with me. Like I just like that type of dynamic because like first see it in My Hero and then Black Clover, and it's like, oh my god, this is awesome. I just really like that whole dynamic, and I'm really excited. And another reason why Black Clover needs to come back, and it's coming back in 2 weeks. It's coming back in 2 weeks too.
Oh.
I mean, there is a fanfic trope of like the hero and the villain, because that's such an inherently intense relationship that it often gets confused with or mixed into a romantic sort of thing. And there are even like lots of official, like, published superhero works where like heroes and villains get married after they retire and stuff. So this isn't a totally unfamiliar idea, but we're coming at this from this like almost like it's almost like a fan sort of thing. With Toga, she likes them as personalities, as like an idol almost. So I think this has a very unusual sort of Japanese bent to it, and we might not be picking up on it exactly the same way as it's intended. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think
Well, another exclusive theory. Toga and Ochako are going to be together. They're getting married at the end of this.
Well, see, like, the thing is, like, I love that sort of thing, but I don't want that. Like, it's weird. It's like the same thing with in a Black Clover, too. Like, their relationship, I won't say their names or anything, but, like, even though, like, it happened in My Hero, like, in Black Clover, it's actually really, darker just because of what that villain did to that character's mother, and she's still wanting to have that relationship. It's like, whoa, that's like, how are you like even expecting that to be reciprocated? But it's just like I like the idea of it not being like, if it's romantic, cool, but I like this, like, where it's like it's more than friendship, but it's not more than friend, like but it's not romantic. Like, that's how I'm viewing it. But I could be completely wrong again.
Well, I think Carlyle just nailed it. It's like a sense of like idolizing somebody. It's the whole idea of, don't meet your heroes. Like,
yeah, I think that's really it.
Yeah.
She's very interested in them as personalities, but she doesn't actually know them. But she kind of has this feeling that she knows them because of their public personas. And then she has this whole weird power where she just turns into them as part of that. And that adds a whole new level to kind of how messed up you could get in your head if you could just turn into the people you idolize. It's a really dark sort of place that I think has almost been downplayed a little bit, which is hard to say because Toga is a pretty dark character in general to have done all the things that she's done at this point. She's definitely beyond redemption. But I really do think there's a solid chance that this just ends with her on the ground, like, why can't you love me back the way that I love you? And it's like, I don't even know you. You're just a person who has done horrible things. Of course we can't, you know?
Yeah, no, that I like that. Yeah, like something like, yeah, why can't you love me back? Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I agree. I don't think Toga has a redemption ahead of her, because yeah, she's just killed too many people. Same thing with Dabi, which is another thing, another battlefield I'm curious to go back to, because I know there's a popular theory going around that he was starting to heal at the end of their fight. Somehow. And also there's the All for One leaving that little shiny thing in his chest too. So I mean, we've got a lot going on.
From Toga even, that we've had some of these people have gotten new powers from All for One before the final battle. So maybe he got a regenerative quirk, or maybe as I wrote about a couple weeks ago, maybe he just is a Nomu and he's always had a whole bunch of quirks.
Yeah, because we kind of got that little tease while All for One was trying to taunt Endeavor, that we didn't really quite get the answer to. On the whole, you didn't find his body, did you? I think the idea that he is just an advanced Nomu with some of Toya's DNA in him, sort of how...
like with Kurogiri.
Yeah, that was the name I was trying to think of. That would be twisted and great.
And which is such a shame too, because I remember you being mad about that, Carlyle, and for good reason. Like, you felt like that whole thing was skipped over with Kurogiri. Like it was getting really deep, and all of a sudden, oh no, we're battling now. I was like, what?
Yes, I definitely wanted to have that play a big part here, because if they were able to take this part of Aizawa's backstory and then turn it into an element to win, that would be just amazing. And we kinda did, but not enough. It really needed more than it got. But there's so much going on right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we did come back around to Kurogiri at some point, because having that warp power is always going to be useful. Once we've started to take care of some of these other guys, because we've got so many fights going on, and we get down to just like, here's our one big fight that's left, and we need to start moving people to that location to finish this off, maybe we'll see him again.
You know, while you're talking, I don't know, because I've been trying to figure out in my head, like I'm kind of shifting gears a bit, but like why I haven't been so invested in this current battle is, because I originally liked the concept of, you know, the fusion of Shigaraki and All for One, but it kind of feels like because Shigaraki has been always a really one of the most intriguing of the villain characters, but it's like I felt like that kind of diminished for me ever since they began fusing, because even though they're like, it's like he was so interesting in and of itself that it's like it's kind of diluted who he is. And like at first I was like, oh man, it's gonna be really exciting, you know, we're gonna get like a new character out of it or something, but now it's like it's hard for me to get invested in this battle just because it doesn't feel like it looks like Shigaraki, but I don't feel like that it is the same person.
He's picked up this kind of dispassionate nature that All for One has, and it's made him a little less interesting to watch fight, I think.
Yeah, for me it's kind of just getting the excitement going for when Shigaraki's personality inevitably erupts. I don't know if they're gonna wait until the final battle or something like that, but yeah, it's continues to be my theory that All for One is going to underestimate Shigaraki, and either Shigaraki and Deku are going to team up in the Shadow Realm to take out the part of All for One that is inside of him, together. But Shigaraki doesn't have any redemption either. I mean, he's literally disintegrated hundreds of people. So that's another one I don't see a happy ending for. But I think he's going to play a major part in All for One going down. But I would be hugely disappointed if Shigaraki just doesn't exist anymore. If All for One just totally ate his personality and he's just 100% succeeds in stealing the body. Because, yeah, I mean, as much as I love All for One, I love All for One being All for One. Shigaraki, his whole story with, being born with a quirk that is just horrifying, and he makes some great points about superhero society and stuff like that. And, so, I mean, if All for One does successfully 100% take over Shigaraki, I feel like we're not going to get those questions that Shigaraki popped up answered, because it's just going to get, like his soul or his consciousness, it's just going to get swallowed up by All for One's ideologies. And that would suck. I love the mastermind of All for One. I love the whole idea of a brilliant super villain that has thought 5 steps ahead of everyone, until he obviously doesn't, or what's the word I'm looking for, underestimates something, which is always what ends up happening at the end of the stories. But My Hero Academia has done a great job of setting up a lot of questions on morality and how the society should operate, and I'm hoping they stick the landing on the answer to that, and it just doesn't result in, oh, cool, well, yeah, we have a lot of moral questions, but look at this big shiny explosion panel. Okay, the story's done now. And we're like, wait, what happened to all those questions and all the morals? And, oh, I don't know, but that was pretty shiny, right?
Right?
I'm hoping we avoid that. What's going to happen next? Big Three attacking. I think it would. I don't think we're going to jump around after this one. The only jumping around I'm hoping we do is possibly after they start fighting a little bit, we get a quick check-in with Deku and what's going on there. But I know in this chapter, Eraser was like, all right, what's going on with Deku? And they're like, we don't know. So we know that it's doing all the right things and setting up Deku just randomly showing up somewhere, unless we got to see what is going to be slowing him down on the ocean, and there's not a lot of things.
He has that technique too that the second One for All inheritor didn't want him to use, except like when he needs it, like as a last resort. There's that whole question as well.
Oh, yeah, he's got one power left.
Yeah, that we don't know. What is that power? And then there's also the whole thing with Aerie, like how is she going to be used? There's a lot of cool stuff going on.
Yeah, I feel like Lemillion showing up is going to give us the opportunity to at least flash over to what Aerie is currently up to, if she is safe.
I mean, she's pretty prominent in that image at the beginning of the chapter, so I feel like that's just like, hey, remember her? Just keep her in mind. We'll get back to it soon.
Well, yeah, we even showed her a couple chapters ago, and I think it was like immediately after All for One was saying something delightfully evil, something kind of insinuating him getting powers. And then it cut right to Aerie, and that would be the worst power for All for One to get the hold of. Yeah, and that would just be, man, that'd be awful. Just, I mean, I'm sure it'd be great for Aerie to have her power taken away, but, yeah, I don't know, the whole, her being like a little girl kind of changes it. If she was like a student who's like old enough, oh man, how great would it have been if she was like Deku's age in the class, and she was the one that they had a character like that be the traitor, somebody who hates their quirk and literally has killed people, kind of like Shigaraki, but on the good side. That would have been a lot more compelling.
And that's you could keep most of her backstory intact like that too. She could still be, being abused by a villain, and have that be like that's where she's given. It's not necessarily that she wants to do it, but she just doesn't want any part of all this, and she's not even here at hero school of her own will. It's because she's being made to go to be a spy. So I think that would have worked really well had they decided to do that.
Yeah, because I mean, as much as Twinkle Laser Starlight Boy is a quirky fellow, it just yeah we I know we've said everything we wanted to say about that arc, but I find it interesting. Yeah. He's wearing a completely different outfit than everybody else in the color spread, which is
is he
an interesting choice. He's wearing a white tux.
Yeah, he's wearing white.
Yeah. The pure, the pure lad. But Steven, you had something?
Oh no! I mean, it was just that I have a feeling that whatever Eri is going to be doing, that All for One is going to be somehow using her power against Deku. I mean, just because, like, if you just look at that chapter 357, like we get him. At the very end, All for One talking was like, haha, I got something up my sleeve, and we see Eri, and then we see Deco being like, oh, what's that? Like, I kind of feel like that they're attached somehow, and that All for One is going to be using Eri's power against Deku, which makes sense, since he has so many quirks. I mean, you would want to use a Rewind against him, because he is his number one threat. Is Deku. So, I mean, it would make sense for him to use Eri's power of Rewind against them. That would be interesting.
Yeah. All right. Here's my alternate pitch then, based on what's going on there. Those are some kind of fighter drone. Maybe they are just Nomu, but they're equipped with the quirk erasure serum from that he still got from Overhaul. Because I'm sure that there was still a lot of that left lying around, and All for One's not just going to leave that there. He's going to find a use for it. So this is his last-ditch effort. I'm just going to throw quirk erasers at Deku and hope that I just delete One for All from existence. It's worth a try.
Well, that doesn't seem to be his goal, though. I thought the goal was to take All for One, or One for All, away from him and put it back into himself to almost become even more ridiculously powerful. I thought was the plan.
It's hence a fallback plan, but
yeah,
as far as backup plans go,
I still don't even know what he wants. Like we do know, but at the same time, he hasn't really outright said it, which is I find kind of interesting.
It just seems to be he wants to be the king. He wants everyone to essentially
Demon Lord. I can't believe they actually call him Demon Lord.
Well, he keeps on. I think it's really interesting how All for One keeps on pulling out like old comic book terminology, while Shigaraki, previously Shigaraki, before he's turned into whatever he is now, was consistently dropping like video game terminology and stuff, and just like they're both big nerds trying to take down the world, and the whole Demon Lord idea I thought was very compelling for All for One to refer to himself as. But yeah, I really just see that kind of being it. He's kind of got a One Punch Man Garu mentality where he's just like, I want to be the ultimate evil that everybody fears and does what I want to do, so then everyone will stop being crappy to each other and the world will be a better place because I will have it under my thumb. But another idea I had with if these are Nomu trying to take Deku's quirk away, I still love the idea of Deku actually had a quirk, but the doctor told him he doesn't. So I think it'd be really interesting if Deku somehow gets his quirks taken away. But if it was Eri's power, it would regress him back to being a child. And
that would be interesting.
Oh boy, that would be a big problem. I don't see how they could easily fix anytime soon.
I don't know.
Depends on what power he had.
Yeah,
Like there's the thing, I knew like there was some theory, like I know like there was a couple chapters ago where it's like, oh man, did Deku actually have a quirk and was it stolen from him? Like I hope that doesn't happen, just because I like that whole trope that that my hero has been doing, and others as well, just like about characters who don't have power that is basically runs their world, and so they have to find an unprecedented way to get power so they can fit in. Like that's one thing I always liked about Deku is that he was basically he isn't special, and that like the only thing why he is this way is that he appealed to All Might, and All Might was like, oh, I'm gonna bestow my power upon him. And like I always like that type of thing where the hero isn't really the hero, they became a hero accidentally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of that kind of. It's almost the opposite of the way that a lot of the older shonen used to work, where you've got like Goku or Ichigo, who we pretend sometimes at the beginning like they've just come into power, but eventually it's revealed that they always had special power all along.
Right. Yeah.
And Ichigo is like 4 different magical races at once.
Yeah.
And he's the only one who could ever do any of this stuff because you have to be everything to do it. So it's like, oh, of course he's doing it all. He's the only one who could. Whereas we've got Asta and Deku on the other end of the spectrum, who are like, they don't have anything to work with. They're starting from nothing and coming up to be the greatest hero from a totally different angle that nobody else expects and nobody else even knows how to deal with. And that does seem to be like the flip-flop that's happened in Shonen.
I love I definitely love it. Like that's always appealed with me. Yeah. And I'm glad you said Asta. Like I've been saying Black Clover too much. I was like, I wonder if someone's gonna reference him, and you did. So yeah.
Well, I hate to say it.
I have watched the whole anime. I have watched the whole Black Clover anime.
I have recently caught up on the manga, and we will be doing Mega Manga Monday podcast for Black Clover if we could. If we could get just at least one other person in there too, we just have a hard time finding 3 people who are interested in Black Clover. But I mean, even Black Clover kind of does that when you kind of. I'm not going to outright spoil it, but you kind of learn a little bit more of his parentage, and you find out like, oh, okay, that's why his powers work that way. And it's something that I feel like My Hero Academia betrayed within like the first 3 chapters after Deku finds out that he can get All Might's power. Like, especially when the series first started, I was just like, oh man, is this going to be the series about a kid who finds a way to be the number 1 hero without powers? That sounds really interesting. And then they're like, oh no, we're going to give you the best power. And then later on, you're like, it's not just the best power; it's 7 or 8 best powers. And you're like, oh, okay, so this is different.
That's why I love about it, because it's like he's so great, but he isn't. Like he'd be nothing without it, and he didn't. Like it's the same with All Might, because he was a nobody. He was quirkless, which is so cool. It's like the greatest heroes get these amazing powers, and that they're not really awesome, but they just came.
It's an interesting angle to look at for a character, because then they know that, like Deku's like, am I still a good hero even if I didn't come with those things? Is this the only thing that makes me a good hero? And obviously the answer to that is no. It has to do with his thoughts and his actions and how he behaves, and that's why he was chosen for this power.
Exactly, because he has the heroic heart. And yeah, I almost wonder if that final quirk he's going to unlock has something to do with that. But going from interviews and stuff, I know Horikoshi in the second movie, he ended up using something that he teased was going to be used at the end of the series. But he's just like, oh, it works better in the movie, and I came up with something even cooler to use instead. Was him... Spoilers for the second My Hero movie, but at the end, him and Bakugo are up against a wall, and Deku decides to essentially sacrifice his all-for-one power and give it to Bakugo. And so they have one of the best animated fight scenes ever done, where they both just absolutely destroy the bad guy of that movie by both being 100% all for one. So it kind of gives me the idea that if Horikoshi has something even better up his sleeve, I wonder if Deku's going to be able to sort of give that ability to more than one person, or possibly his final quirk will allow him to buff people around him, possibly, or just kind of magnify everybody's powers, including his own.
So it'll be like forced spirit fission.
Yeah, something like that. Dragon Ball Super reference. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of all my thoughts on these chapters. I'm definitely excited to see Lemillion in action. More Lemillion, please. But I'm just incredibly excited to get into Shigaraki's head too. I want to see more Shigaraki, not all for one Shigaraki combo, because I mean they did a well enough job of establishing his personality to make me really curious to see, his whole character journey. And them completely changing his character has derailed that significantly. So I'm hoping that we get that resolved, but it sounds like Steven wants us to jump back to the Toga fight after this one.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that.
I almost feel like they have to get done with that. Well, okay, here's the thing. I think that fight is going to have some other major thing to do with everything else that's going on, or else we would have taken care of it already.
Yeah, I remember. Or they're just saving it because it's the best for last.
That must be it. I think you're right. They're like, this whole story has actually been about Toga's relationships. Dude, I would read that side manga.
Yeah.
Well, guys, before we jump into plugs and recommendations, any final thoughts on My Hero Academia 358 or 359 before we move on?
I mean, just like the a quick thing is that, I don't know if it's implied Lemillion or the big three, they're going to be, joining the fight against Shigaraki or not. I don't know if it's separate or the same, but it seems like if they aren't or are, it just depends. It seems like now is the perfect time. Horikoshi is setting up one of those stereotypical shonen awakenings where the hero has been completely defeated. I mean, he even has a saying. It's like, oh man, Bakugo has his arm blown up, and he's like, the gap between us is too great. His power is too great. He's about to be destroyed. It either could go he could have an awakening and overcome Shigaraki, or he has to rely on others Lemillion or something. And I'm hoping it's the latter, just because I'm kind of sick of that trope where it's the hero is pushed against the wall and then they find a power randomly.
I hate to tell you this, but I think the whole motto of this series is going plus ultra. So I think we're going to be getting a lot of that, actually.
Yeah.
But just to go back to Bakugo, I want him to be smarter. I don't know why he thought, okay, we're fighting against somebody, we're turning off his quirks, and he's regenerating so quickly that he's spawning extra limbs and figuring out... That was one thing I liked in one of these new chapters, too, is Shigaraki talking about how the quirks in his body are trying to figure out the perfect form. And that was something that they did really well with Mihito in Jujutsu Kaisen that I thought they did an amazing job with. Go back and read Jujutsu Kaisen if you haven't, especially at the end of the best arc that series has seen so far.
Sorry, I got to jump off, but bye.
Oh, bye. Thanks, Steven. Yeah, check out Steven on Screen Rant comics section. But yeah, we're going to be wrapping this up pretty soon. But I just thought it was really stupid that Bakugo is just okay, I'm going to turn you into Swiss cheese. It's just do you really think this is going to work? Do you think there's just a weak point that you're not hitting? Just...
He's lucky that Monoma didn't blink or something. He could have get disintegrated.
Yeah, exactly. And It's just I want them to be a little bit smarter, because I mean we keep on giving Bakugo the he's a hothead but he's meticulous and brilliant, and it almost made me think, okay, after getting his arm torn off or destroyed, does he have another ace up his sleeve that he's about to do? And I don't think that that's that's what's happening right now. But yeah, any final thoughts on this one, Carlyle?
We speculated as much as I can.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that'll wrap up this My Hero Academia of Mega Manga Mondays. Or, I'll go ahead and switch those terms around. But we're not on break next week, so we'll probably be talking about the new chapter. Hopefully it's a good one that'll spark lots of good conversations. But please check out Mega Manga Mondays. We got plenty of other podcasts for series like Dragon Ball Super, Jujutsu Kaisen, One Piece, all kinds of stuff. So definitely check that out. Also follow us on Twitter for updates at Manga Mondays. Also check out ScreenRant.com. I write for video game news, and my buddies here are comics section writers. So lots of informative and insightful articles for you to enjoy there. Carlyle, any pitches or recommendations today, bud?
I guess just you can check me out. I'm trying to get back onto Twitter. I've been very busy and sick and such in recent weeks, so I'm trying to get back to doing the Twitter for Elven Revenue Service, so check that out. Hopefully there'll be some new stuff for you by the time this is posted.
Carlyle's working on a visual novel. He's been working on it for a while, and a lot of the art and stuff he's been putting out, especially on his Twitter account for it is looking like it's going to be a pretty good time, man. So definitely keep us updated on all that.
Yep.
All right. As I said, please check out other episodes of Mega Manga Monday, and look forward to another one next week. And I hope you guys have a good one.